college football playoff rankings. This is the reaction because the committee, Lord have mercy, they're playing in our face. They are playing in our face, and I see right through it. It is clear as day what the committee tried to do today. They are protecting certain teams. They are making sure that no matter what happens in the conference championship, the SEC teams are protected. We got to talk about that. We got to talk about Texas. We got to talk about whether they have a legitimate gripe. What's going on with Notre Dame and Miami? Because there's a lot going on. And the committee, Lord have mercy. Now, Juracek was asked about this specifically, and it was clear as day what he was trying to do. He didn't want to say the quiet part out loud, but we all know the truth, and this is why you are here to because I'm college football's honesty broker, the man who is the truth teller when other people don't want to tell it. The networks aren't allowed to say it, but guess who is allowed to say it? Your boy. I am allowed to say it. All right, so let's start with the rankings just in general. So I'm gonna pull up the rankings, and then we will go from there. In case you didn't see them, here are the college football rankings versus the. Let me get this AP poll up off your screen right now because it don't even matter right now. So we got the college football playoff poll. In case you missed it, so there are a key pieces of things. And the main things that you want to see are, and this involves the ACC, Tulane at number 20, North Texas at number 24, and those two play each other. And then you have James Madison at number 25. All of these teams are playing in their conference championship. So all three of those teams. And that matters for specific purposes because no matter who wins out of Tulane and North Texas, they are for sure going to the college football playoff. If it is Tulane, it creates a big situation. I'm sorry, if it's North Texas, then there is a way I guess Duke could get ranked in front of them, but no. And then you got James Madison playing Troy. The reason why this matters is because where the ACC is ranked. You have Miami at number 12. They're not getting in the college football playoff. They might as well give up. And I know that Juracek said that, yeah, the teams can change next week. No, he's just not trying to box himself in and the committee in. So that's the first thing. Then you got Virginia ranked number 17. They're playing against Duke, who is now unranked. Now, on one hand, logic would tell you that if Virginia wins, then yes, the ACC is fine. That is clear as day. But what happens if Duke beats Virginia? Now the committee is either going to, and especially if Tulane beats North Texas, because Tulane's already 20. So then Tulane will have a ranked win, and then you're going to jump Duke in front of Tulane? That ain't happening. But would they be willing to jump Duke in front of James Madison? That's the question, because if Duke finishes behind James Madison in the rankings and they win the conference championship, then the ACC is going to get no representative into the college football playoff. That, my friends, would cause every bit of hell to break loose. And I want you guys to talk about that. That would cause every single bit of hell to break loose. And you guys make sure that you guys like, subscribe, get notifications, tell a friend about the show. If you're watching on Twitter, hit the link and watch it on YouTube, man. But we appreciate your time because you guys are one of us. So that's the first thing for the ACC. Second thing is Texas fans. Texas is at number 13. That is exactly where Texas fans should be. And all of this lobbying by Steve Sarkisian, it has been nauseating. It has wanted to make me throw up. The idea that you have Texas, big bad Texas, sitting here trying to convince everybody that they should be in and trying to blame it on the Notre Dame, on the Ohio State win. Oh man, then maybe we shouldn't schedule tough non-conference games. No. Maybe you shouldn't get beat late in the season by Georgia by 25, and maybe you shouldn't lose to Florida. Maybe those two things. It ain't the Ohio State loss. The Ohio State loss actually makes you look better. Sorry, Texas fans. There is no reason why Texas should be in the top 12, in the top 10 where you need to get in right now. Who are you going to put them over? Notre Dame? No. Alabama? You for sure ain't putting them over Bama. How about Oklahoma? Well, they beat Oklahoma. Well, guess what? Oklahoma didn't lose to Florida. You have to navigate your schedule. It's not just who you beat, even though that does matter. It matters because when you can lose to Florida State and beat Oklahoma, it means you're a wishy-washy up and down team. That's exactly what that means. So people are conflating it and then don't schedule tough and don't schedule a non-conference game. Play your 9 Power 4 games in the SEC conference games next year, and then people will be saying, "Oh, well, you didn't play anybody in the non-conference," and then you'll be looking goofy again. You'll be looking goofy again. This is just a case of in the world, in sports, in the world, bad things happen to good people sometimes. In Texas, you are a good football team and something bad happened to you. But guess what? That leads me to my next point. The committee, this is dastardly. This is collusion, if you will, by the College Football Playoff Committee. Moving Notre Dame, who absolutely tore the cover off of Stanford, behind Alabama is protection for Alabama, and it is cover for the College Football Playoff Committee. It is cover. Let me explain to you why. If BYU beats Texas Tech and has to jump into the College Football Playoff, they don't want them to knock Alabama out if they lose to Georgia. They want them to knock Notre Dame out. They did this intentionally. That way, next week, if BYU does beat Texas Tech, now you're bumping Notre Dame out. And if you bump Notre Dame out, what can Miami fans say to you? Nothing. Nothing. Because Miami fans, the only thing that they have to stand on right now is we beat Notre Dame and Notre Dame's in the playoff in front of us. So if BYU wins and then you knock Notre Dame out of the equation, doesn't matter what you did to Miami because now they got no leg to stand on. They got no gripe because they're gone. Are y'all feeling me right now? Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Because this is intentional. This is intentional. I just saw a comment. Notre Dame does not deserve to be in. I don't know how. I don't know how we get to that point because I don't believe that. Notre Dame has beaten. They've beaten the only non-Power 5 school that they've played has been Boise State. They beat Arkansas, which is apparently a good SEC win. They beat NC State. They beat Boston College, who stinks. They beat Navy, who is a formidable opponent. Beat a ranked Pitt team. Beat them up. Dominated Syracuse and dominated Stanford. Now, granted, if you had looked last year, this schedule looked a little bit tougher than it did this season because some of the teams panned out to not be as good as they were. Notre Dame did beat USC, so you can't say that they beat nobody. And we're saying that Notre Dame is 2-2 team versus teams who Texas beat. Texas lost to Florida. It has nothing to do with the Ohio State win. So let's get to that. And then, so they are protecting it, and they are giving themselves cover to protect Alabama. Because what happens if they had left it the same, Notre Dame at 9, Alabama at 10? What happens then, even if BYU didn't win? Let's say BYU lost. What happens if Georgia then tears the cover off of Alabama by multiple scores? It's going to be hard in the sensibilities not to drop them at least one spot, which would have taken them out of the college football playoff. That's why I'm saying this is intentional by the college football playoff committee to protect Alabama. I'm telling you. That's why they did it. Now, the other thing that is very interesting is that moving Alabama up to 9 now brings the question of what happens if Alabama, who's sitting at number 9, now beats Georgia in the SEC championship like they did earlier in this season. How far up can you actually move Alabama? Because can you move Alabama in front of Oklahoma, who beat them? Can you move Alabama all the way up to number 4, jumping Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and Oregon? I don't believe so, but they are going to leave room for that because imagine a world, and there's two parts to this. Imagine a world where Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana all get buys. Let's say the Big Ten championship is close. Indiana, Ohio State, whoever the winner is, if it's a close game, Indiana, Ohio State, and then if Georgia loses or Texas Tech loses, now you're going to end up with 3 Big Ten teams in with buys. And now, mind you, it makes and the buys, they feel like a good thing, right? It feels like a good thing. Like, yes, you earned some off time. You're in the top 4. It feels prestigious. But what do you actually win from getting a bye? Nothing. This is why if we're gonna stay at 12 teams, you can put the first games as bowl games if you want to. I don't care. But the second round games where the teams had buys, those teams should get to play at home. Otherwise, what are you actually getting by getting a bye? Because if you pay attention to Oregon's situation, Oregon won't play for 32 days if they end up with a bye. If you ask Kirby Smart, would he rather play on the 19th or the 20th or have a bye until until New Year's Eve or New Year's Day? He would tell you he would rather play on the 19th and the 20th based upon the way his team reacted last year, Dan Lanning's team reacted, Arizona State reacted, and Boise State. All the teams last year that had buys lost. All of them. They all lost. So how are we so like the bye is not a benefit or hasn't been proven to be a benefit at this point in time. So why would you even want it right now? You can either be playing against a team who just played 11 days before they played you and is warm and revved up and ready to go, or you can be playing against somebody who had an equal 3-week layoff from you and might be rusty and ready to and not as ready to go either. Imagine that. Which one are you choosing? Exactly. So the buys, even though they seem, great and magnified, they are not quite as good as people believe that they are. The buys are troublesome because coaches, and I know because I got a chance to see last year, Dan Lanning and Oregon's team, they were busting heads in practice. They were playing hard, everything else, but you cannot simulate game intensity, game reality. You can't do any of that in practice. This is why teams that play every week, even when they have injuries, they still manage to find a way to play well. It is simple, it is clear. But this does beg the question about playoff expansion. Now, I was always a proponent of expansion. I was like, we need to expand from 4. The answer to me was always 16. because I don't believe in teams having buys, and especially if you're not going to give them a home playoff game. So, but they're talking about expanding to 24. This is foolishness. Because if we look at the teams, it would be nice to reward BYU for a really good season, or Miami for a really good season, or Texas for figuring it out, or Vanderbilt. But the idea that we're going to sit up here and threaten college football, all the Texas fans, we'll change our schedule. Go on and do it then. Be weak. Be weak. But that is no different than USC fans trying to duck Notre Dame, your biggest rival. So Texas, you were supposed to be Texas. You got NIL money. You got a great coach. You got all this stuff. But now you want to duck the smoke? Go win your damn football game. We don't want to hear it. We do not feel sorry for number 10, 11, 12, 13 who gets left out. You can't. It's like in the NCAA tournament, 68 teams, and we're crying about the first four out. Hey, man, it's tough. You should have won more games during the season. You should have won one or two more games, and then you would have been just fine. I don't feel sorry for anybody. There's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in football. It's ridiculous. So that's what the committee did. They are boxing them in, and they are going to intentionally leave out Notre Dame and Miami if BYU wins. Book it. Book it. Now, the biggest question is also Ole Miss. Ole Miss backed off. I find this very interesting. So, Ole Miss offensive coordinator, Charlie Weis, who's going down to Ole Miss, he decides, and he probably has some talks with the administration because Ole Miss probably talked to the College Football Playoff Committee and was like, yo, we have a new head coach, but we lost our play caller, we lost our head coach, we lost our offensive coordinator. So how are we supposed to play? So they were going to drop them severely, I believe. So now the question, and I do believe that Ole Miss should have gotten dropped past number 7. I think that they should be number 8, 9, and I believe that the committee is probably going to do that and put them on the road because of this fiasco. That's what I would do. I would leave Ole Miss in the playoff. And remember, Lane Kiffin, according to reports, made an ultimatum to his staff. If you don't get on this plane, there's no job. But you know how it is when people get heated and they get in arguments, they say things that they don't mean, and then a few days later they come back. All right, look. I know what I said. I was mad at the moment. Let's try to find a resolution to this. And now Ole Miss has a resolution. Charlie Weis is still going down there to LSU, but he's going to coach and be the offensive coordinator. Now, Lane Kiffin is usually the play caller. So this gives Charlie Weis additional personal experience being a play caller. And it also, which will boost his resume if they win, but it also gives the kids a fighting chance. And that part I love. That part I love. Um, so I'm happy. I'm happy about that. So the question is, out of all the top 10 teams, because 11 through 12 don't really, 11 through 25 don't really matter right now. I look at these teams, and one of these teams does not look like the other. I believe that Texas A&M, yes, they have navigated their schedule. They're probably a bit overrated, but they've navigated their schedule. Nothing really you can say about that. Same way you can't criticize Indiana, same way you can't criticize Ohio State or Notre Dame or anybody else. But the one team that doesn't look like anybody else is Oklahoma. This team, phenomenal on defense. Brent Venables has done a great job turning this team around after the Lincoln Riley crushed it when he left. But here is the issue. Oklahoma's offense is putrid. I do not believe that there is a team outside of Alabama in the top 10 that Oklahoma can beat. I do not. There is not a team in the top 10 that Oklahoma can beat, except Alabama. That's it. They go against Notre Dame, they're going to get the cover blown off of them because they can't score. And Notre Dame's defense is good enough to keep them from scoring. They can't beat Oregon. They can't beat Texas Tech. They damn sure can't beat Texas Tech. That's for sure. They can't beat Georgia, can't beat Indiana, and they can't beat Ohio State. Now, here is the other part about this is this. Is one of the things that people don't want to admit about this, about the playoff situation and everything else. The thing that we need more than anything is uniform scheduling. And you guys make sure that you guys like, subscribe, get notifications, tell a friend about the show, and keep sharing. That's why we are one of the fastest growing college football shows on YouTube and on X, because we bring the truth and y'all keep showing up, because it is because of y'all. But think about that. I'm looking at this and I'm saying, let's look at this bracket. So here's the bracket. Here's the bracket as it stands right now. And we talked about number 12 and number 11 so far, because we got a situation where if the ACC champion, and I'll pull up the rankings in case somebody just came in. So you see how Tulane is ranked number 20, and we have North Texas number 24. Virginia is number 17. James Madison number 25. The reason why those things matter. James Madison is in a different conference than Tulane and North Texas. And the 5 highest ranked conference champions get automatic berths. So if Virginia wins the ACC championship against Duke, the ACC has no problem. Virginia goes to the college football playoff. If Duke so happens to win, now you're going to be saying, now Duke has to be praying that James Madison loses in the college football in their conference championship. They have to, because there is no other way that they're going to be able to get into hoping that they lose to Troy, because there's no other way for them to get into the college football playoff. There's no other way, because Duke is not going to, even after beating number 17 Virginia, would not jump Tulane if they beat North Texas. They would not. There's no chance, because they're ranked number 20. But might they jump James Madison even if James Madison wins? That's the question. And I believe that they would, because do you know what type of hell firestorm that would ignite by having Miami sitting at number 12 and then no ACC team get to be in the college football playoff? So let's look at the bracket, and we're going to examine both case scenarios. Because if you have number 12 right now, as it stands right this second, you would have Tulane, North Texas, or James Madison. Well, actually, it would be Tulane or North Texas at number 12. Virginia right now would be number 11. But if Duke then wins the ACC championship and Tulane or North Texas, they're probably going in that 11 spot. So now imagine a world. Think about this. Imagine a world where where Ole Miss, without their head football coach, got to play North Texas or Tulane in the first round of the playoffs. Imagine that. What? That would be such good fortune for them. It would be insane. You cannot put together a world where you have um them playing. You can't. That is absolute craziness. Absolute craziness. Where you would give Ole Miss that sort of good fortune. And if you're Oregon, honestly, I think that you would rather stay at the number that you would rather be in the 6th spot or the 5 spot than moving up to the 4 spot. Because then you would get a home game in Autzen Stadium. It's the same way Oklahoma would get a home game against Alabama right now. So I do not believe that there's going to be a great deal of movement from the rankings and the bracket that we have right now. Is there anybody in the chat that believes that BYU, after getting beat 29-7 by Texas Tech, is then going to turn around and beat Texas Tech? Does anybody actually believe that? I'm just saying. I think it is highly doubtful. So let's examine this bracket, though, because I think that it's fair to talk about who would win as it is so constructed. I think it is fair to say that whoever is sitting in the 12th spot, that Oregon beats them, and then Oregon advances to the next line. Under this current bracket, Oklahoma already beat Alabama. Alabama still can't run the football, but Alabama outgained them in every way and turned the ball over. So do you believe that that would happen again? I got my money on Oklahoma again, which is crazy. So then I'm going to put Oklahoma versus Ohio State. There is a 0% chance, zero, that Oklahoma can beat Ohio State outside of Jeremiah Smith, Julian Sayin, and Carnell Tate all in. If they all ended up hurt, Oklahoma still couldn't even score enough points to beat Ohio State. That's how crazy that is. Because Ohio State is only giving up 8 points a game. Are they generationally good, or are they just haven't been tested yet? Oh, and somebody else brought up another situation that, and in the chat, yo, the chat's been awesome. Y'all got some good thoughts today. So what happens if James Madison loses and Duke wins and UNLV wins their conference? Now that's another situation because UNLV sitting at 10-2 as well, and they're not getting any love. But I believe the SEC, because they are a big dog, is going to get the benefit of the doubt, because then you'd be like, Duke's beating 7 Power 5 teams compared to Duke's 1 with UNLV. So how could we even compare these two things? I'm telling you, this is absolute. The committee, and to go back in case you guys just joined it, the committee is protecting Alabama with this. They're playing in our face. They are protecting Alabama by jumping Alabama in front of Notre Dame. In case you missed it, what the committee is doing, it is clear as day what they are doing. The committee is protecting Alabama because if Alabama loses in the there's 2 parts to this. First part, if Alabama loses in the conference championship to Georgia and they lose by 2 scores, they lose by 10 points, that's 14 points. That's an ugly loss. So if they were sitting at 10, even though that you shouldn't get penalized for playing an extra game, you did get your doors beat off, and you have lost to Florida State, and you did lose to Oklahoma. So now, how could you make a case for like leaving BYU out at that? Well, actually, assuming that BYU lost in the conference championship, now we're arguing about Miami. Okay, so then that gives you a whole different can of worms. But here is what the committee is really protecting against. Texas Tech plays BYU. If Texas Tech gets beat, well, so if BYU beats Texas Tech, BYU gets the automatic berth. And Texas Tech is not getting left out of the college football playoff. So now BYU essentially would jump in front of Alabama, where Alabama was, or Notre Dame, which either way just would have pushed Alabama out of the college football playoff. They are protecting Alabama in case BYU beats Texas Tech because they do not want to leave Alabama out of the college football playoff. It would take Alabama probably getting beat by 3 scores to get them out of the college football playoff. Now, here is where the committee wins big. The committee is hoping, I'm telling you this right now, I believe this with every part of my core. I believe that the committee wants BYU to beat Texas Tech. It solves all their problems if that happens. If BYU beats Texas Tech is staying inside. They're at number 4 right now. They're staying inside of the top 10. BYU bumps in front into the top 10. Now what do you get? Wink, wink, nod, nod. Notre Dame is then bumped out of the college football playoff. So now you have solved your biggest problem. You have solved the biggest talking point. Now you have solved every single thing that people can call you a hypocrite about. Because then Notre Dame gets left out of the college football playoff and Miami gets left out of the college football playoff. If both of those teams get left out of the college football playoff, the committee has nothing for anybody to be mad about because both then Notre Dame and Miami, who people have been crying about that head-to-head about, they're both gone. Vanish. And now they're sitting pretty. And now everybody's looking like, the committee did a good job. Boom. Now the question is, okay, I have a question. So in the chat, and I'm seeing what you guys are saying in the chat. Well, people are complaining because they have obvious biases. Who's the committee biased against right now? Because the SEC is going to go crazy if Alabama beats Georgia and then Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon all get buys. They're going to go berserk over that. Berserk. Because if Ohio State, Indiana is a close game, they're probably going to finish 1-2 or 1-3. That's it. And then if Georgia or Texas Tech loses, Oregon is going to move and slide into that four spot. And if they both lose, they might mess around and slide into the 3 spot. And then SEC fans are going to be screaming conspiracies all over the place. Look at the Big Ten. Look at them. They don't play anybody. They got buys. Buys ain't the best thing. Oregon would have 32 days off. That ain't it. And the funny part is, and I'm happy somebody just brought this into the chat. They said the Big 12 is terrible, and they have the number 11 and number 14. That is verifiably false. I am telling you right now, Texas Tech, I believe, is probably the second best team in the country right now. Not 1, not 3, not 4. This is a defense that is the number 1 defense in the Big 12. They are one of the top defenses in all of college football. They're giving up less than 100 rushing yards per game. Rodriguez is being a stud. This team is much better than people are giving them credit for. And this is the problem, honestly, with the committee and fans on some level. Because think about Indiana from last year. One of the talking points about Indiana was this team's overrated and blah, blah, blah. Same talk they're talking about Texas Tech right now. But the reason why they're doing it is brand. It is brand. They are not comfortable and they don't trust the Texas Tech brand yet. They don't trust the Indiana brand yet as really good football teams. They don't trust them. And I said this last year. Remember in the beginning of the season where even after Oregon beat Penn State, people were super high on them, and then Penn State falls apart. They fire James Franklin. All their hopes and dreams are dashed, and everything else. And then people start saying, "Oh, who is Oregon beat?" But the difference is the Oregon brand is so strong. They were number one in the nation for the vast majority of last season. They've gone to national championships, even though that they haven't won one. People feel very comfortable with the Oregon brand. They've gone to Ohio State and won. They've beaten SEC teams. They've done all of these things to establish enough credibility for people to give you the Joel Klatt benefit of the doubt. But Texas Tech's brand in people's minds, I'm not talking about on the field, because you can't judge it over you're not supposed to judge it over a historical basis. It's supposed to be this particular season. That's it. People aren't comfortable with the Indiana brand yet. People are not comfortable with the Texas Tech brand yet. They are new. They're Johnny come latelys. And until people see Indiana beating Ohio State, beat a Ole Miss, and truthfully, if they beat Ole Miss, they'll be like, oh, yeah, it was Ole Miss. They didn't have their coach. It's just Ole Miss anyway. Until you beat Georgia, Alabama, Notre Dame, Texas, they ain't going to believe in you. The same way that they don't believe in Vanderbilt in the SEC. They're like, oh, that's a nice story, but it's still Vanderbilt. They believe that Vanderbilt's going to fall off after this season, that it's over, that it's as soon as Diego Pavia is gone. And I find it very, very interesting. I see a thing where it says in the chat, Texas Tech does not deserve to be at number 4 if they lost to ASU. Texas, see, this lets me know that people don't watch the Big 12. If you are an SEC team or a Big 10 team, you don't watch the Big 12 as much. I do. That's why you come here, for me to give you the answer to the test. Texas Tech lost to Arizona State, who is a good football team. They were ranked number 24, they were ranked inside of the top 25 last week, and were in the college football playoff last year. And they were without their quarterback for the last 5. They've been without Sam Levitt 5 or 6 games this year. Texas Tech played them without Baron Morris, their starting quarterback. He was gone. Texas Tech has won, I think, every single other game by at least 20 points. I believe that teams should be ranked upon 3 separate criteria: quality wins, schedule played, and dominance. Texas Tech dominated BYU. They dominated the rest of their schedule. And they have a couple quality wins. So miss me with all of that. And you are right. Vandy did pick up Jared Curtis. And National Signing Day is tomorrow. They did pick up Jared Curtis, which is a big deal. One of the top 5 quarterbacks in the country, flipped from Georgia to Vanderbilt. Yo, everybody was after this kid. Oregon was after him. Georgia clearly landed him. So many other schools were after him. And he flipped from Georgia to Vanderbilt because he wanted to play immediately. Same way the kid, Jaren Kiwi Sakapuatelli at Cal, went to Oregon and then immediately bolted to Cal because he was like, oh, damn, I'm not going to play in front of Dante. Just saying. But these buys completely over these buys, until proven otherwise, the buys are awful. All 4 teams that had buys last year, Oregon, Georgia, Arizona State, and Boise State, all lost. And it's not just that they all lost. They all started the first half out extremely slow. They had 24 or 25 days off from their last game. Oregon played in the Big Ten Championship and still had 24 days off. Now Oregon would have 32 days off. between games if they end up with the bye. That would be awful. That would be awful. Um, now now, here is another thing that I wanted to talk about today because this is a news that's dominating the cycle. And you guys, I have interviews up here on the channel with Tosh Lupoy. If you are a Cal fan and you want to know what Cal is getting and what Oregon is losing in their defensive coordinator, and what Kentucky is getting out of Will Stein, who is their new head coach, interviewed Will Stein. That's up on there as well. So think about this Oregon team. Oregon is now losing their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. So people are wondering, like, what does this mean for Oregon? Is Oregon going to fall off and all this stuff? Here's the thing. Coaches from every other school are going to be tripping over themselves to get up to get to Coach Oregon because Dan Lanning is establishing his coaching tree right now. He's now had two head coaches under him now. If they do well, and then he's grooming other head coaches because he's not a guy who's trying to keep all the wealth and all the success for himself. Um, Question in the chat. How is Texas A&M the worst one-loss team with a stronger schedule than both Tech and Oregon? That is definitely not the truth. Okay, let's pull up since everybody wants to talk about these things. Let's get to it. Let's get to the thing that everybody wanted to talk about last year when it came to the rankings. Let's get to talking about the college football playoff, the power index, the ESPN's FPI, which I have laughed at times, but since people want to get the strength of schedule, we will go there as well. Okay, so here is what we got. We have FPI, Ohio State 1, Indiana, Notre Dame, Oregon, Texas Tech. But I thought damn. So now let's go to the Sagarin ranking. Okay, let's go to these rankings since everybody wants to talk. Let me make them a little bit bigger so everybody can see. Oh man, Sagarin rankings. Man, let's go with Ohio State 1, Notre Dame 2, Indiana, Oregon, Texas Tech, Miami. Damn, then we get to Alabama, Georgia, Texas. Ole Miss. What are we doing here? Exactly. All the metrics that SEC people wanted you to consider last year, now all of a sudden they don't favor them. And they want to lean on what their version of strength of schedule is when the reality is when the reality is that strength of schedule is also manipulated by preseason rankings. Can anybody understand that? Can anybody hear me? And I will prove that point to you as well. Because strength of schedule is impacted in a significant way by preseason rankings. Let's go back to the preseason rankings for 2020 for 2025, okay? Here we go. We got Texas 1. So anybody that played Texas has a strong schedule early in the season. Penn State 2. Clemson, same thing. Then let's look at the teams that aren't even in the top 25 anymore. Clemson, gone. Penn State, gone. Nowhere to be found. LSU, gone. But some kind of way, that's still a good win. Even though they fired their hair. They're in the same situation Penn State is in. They're a talented roster that keeps fighting. They can keep it close sometimes and beat some bad teams, but they still stink this year. Arizona State's out of the top 25, injured. Illinois is out. South Carolina, gone. Nowhere to be found. Shane Beamer's seat is a volcano ready to erupt right now. SMU gone. Kansas State gone. Iowa State gone. Tennessee gone. Boise State gone. You don't think that impacts the rankings? Now let's just jump on over to week 4. Let's see. Oh, Penn State's still there. LSU's number 3 in the country. And you got SEC fans still talking about some, oh man, we had a top 10 win against LSU. They ain't no damn top 10 win. Stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. What are we doing here? Auburn. Auburn was ranked number 22. The audacity James Madison would beat BYU. I think this is why my solution for college football is very simple. Very simple. I know Josh Pate wants to be commissioner. He might get the first commissioner job, but then I'll be waiting in the wings to take and do an even better job. Because here is the thing. First thing that I am doing, if I am college football commissioner, there will be, on day 1, there will be zero, zilch, nada. There will be no game scheduled. Zero. More than 12 months in advance. None. None at all. And then you know what I'm doing. We are going to play. If you are the team that won the national championship, you come back the next year, you play a first place schedule. All the way down. We're ranking everybody all the way to 136. The first group of teams, that's going to be a first place schedule. So then you got to play harder teams. Then I'm NFL schedule modeling this thing. That is the only fair way to do it. Everybody is going to play 10 Power 4 games. Everybody. There will be you can play one FCS team and you can play a group of 5, a group of 6 team. That's it. There will be uniformity in scheduling because there needs to be more parity. So the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and SEC, they will all play crossover games based upon where you finished in the standings. And I'm probably going down to 8. So I'm going down to 8 conference games, crossover games, and then we going to roll from there. And then you know what? You're going to have way more head-to-heads, way more data points to cross over. And no, I'm not letting Alabama play, Rutgers unless they finish last or they finish first. It's not happening. I'm going to create great games week in and week out. That's the first thing that we're going to do. George, what do you think about a 16-team playoff with 2 AQs for the Power 4, 1 AQ for each of the G5, G6 conference champion, and 2 at-large spots? Okay. So the issue with that is, and here is where my frustration lies with the powers that be in college football, with Tony Petitti, Greg Sankey, your Mark, all of them. There is a power grab at the top. There's a consolidation of power. Greg Sankey is only going to do what is best for the SEC. Tony Petitti is going to do what's best for the Big Ten. Your Mark's going to do what's best for his conference. Like, everybody's going to do what's best for them. Do you know who nobody is doing the best thing for? For college football. And you guys make sure that you guys swipe up, like, subscribe, get notifications. I appreciate you guys being here. This is one of the fastest growing YouTube channels in college football, and it is because of you guys. We're well past 25,000, on the way to 50,000. You guys sharing is the reason why, and I thank you. We got great things coming. All right, so let's go back to that 16-team playoff thing. Okay, so you got all those conference commissioners. They're only going to do what's best for them. There is no way in hell that you're going to have the SEC, who believes that they are the best conference in all of college football, and the Big Ten, who believes they're the best conference in all of power football, and they've won the most national championships, that they are going to then say, yes, we're okay getting the same amount of bids as the ACC, same amount of bids as the Big 12. And no, they're never going to agree to that. And this is why, on my day 1, if we get these scheduling models, It is going to be an easy case. Easy case. So, um, here is the question, and somebody just put in the chat. Miami not in is insane. Major bias. FSU was screwed when they were undefeated and didn't get in. Okay, so my question is this. Let me put it up. Who people can you put Miami in over? Who? Are you going to put Miami in over Notre Dame? That's possible. But over BYU? Why? Why? BYU's only loss was to Texas Tech. That's it. So where are you going to put Miami? You can't put them over Oklahoma. Well, actually, I would throw, honestly, if I had it my way, I would punt Oklahoma out of the college football playoff. That's what I would. But how can you punt them out when they just recently beat Alabama? That's the gotcha. And I just told you, the committee is protecting Alabama right now. That's why they flip-flopped Alabama and Notre Dame, because in case BYU beats Texas Tech, they do not want Alabama to get pushed out of the playoff. Notre Dame better pray. They better pray that Texas Tech wins. Because if they don't, they are getting left out of the college football playoff. You can write it down. You can book it. That is 100% guaranteed. Bama lost to FSU. BYU barely wins. Miami, okay. All right, so so let's go to. I wanted to talk about another thing today, because I told you guys about the buys, how the buys are not beneficial to teams. But I want to go back for a second to what is happening to the ACC. Because if the ACC gets left out of the college football playoff, my God, all hell is going to break loose. You won't even be able to feel the season. And if you do not understand, I will explain it to you super quick. The two teams that are playing in the ACC championship, number 17, Virginia, versus unranked Duke, who's 7-5. They got in with tiebreakers. They went 6-2 in the conference. Tiebreakers. They're unranked. While you have three group of 5 teams that are ranked. Tulane is playing against North Texas in the conference championship. James Madison is in a totally different conference. So remember, the 5 highest ranked conference champions get buys. There are Big 10, Big 12, SEC, ACC with Virginia. And then you have the American and then the Sun Belt. All of them represented. And if Virginia gets beat by Duke, there is no way that they jump over Tulane. So Tulane winning. So at best, you're going to have, if Duke wins, at best, they're going to be in the 12th spot. And let me put it up the way in case you don't understand. So the conference champion number 5, that would be the SEC. I'm sorry, the ACC if Duke wins. And then James Madison loses. And number 11 would then be Tulane or North Texas. That is wild. And so that's how that works. Now, I want to get back for a second to Texas fans. Can anybody, am I the only person that has no sympathy for Texas? And I think it is unbecoming. I think it is lame. I think it is beneath Steve Sarkisian, who has been out here lobbying like a damn politician, running for election for the governor of the state or president of the United States. Out here lobbying and crying. Well, maybe we should change our schedule. This is tough. And yes, I got the same energy for USC trying to take Notre Dame off their schedule, their biggest rival, because that's weak as hell. I got the same energy for Indiana, who took Power Four teams off their schedule to make their schedule easier, and their head coach, Kurt Signetti, who I like. But remember, just because I like you don't mean I won't tell the truth. You schedule poorly. And Kirby Smart just said it the best. You run from hard, you find more hard. It looks easier, you're going to run into more hard because you ain't going to be ready. And you're going to mess around and lose some football games that you're supposed to. No, my stance is not that you should schedule tough teams and not reward them. Texas is getting credit for losing to Ohio State. They are using a convenient circular argument. The only thing that they want to focus on, this is no different than what politicians do. They're building up a straw man. This is the straw man fallacy. They are building up the straw man of, oh, if you're not rewarded for scheduling tough non-conference games, and we won't do it no more. They're being rewarded. Nobody has played Ohio State that tough, so that leads you to believe, and they outgained Ohio State. So now you're like, damn, this actually might be a really good football team. They lost to Florida. Pretty much everybody in front of them had beaten Florida. And they just recently got the you-know-what kicked out of them by Georgia by 25. Had they lost that Georgia game by 3 points, 5 points, they probably would be in a different position right now. But you lost to Florida, and you just recently got kicked in the teeth by Georgia. Come on, man. That's the reason why. And here's the thing: does a 10-2 team with the Texas with the Florida loss? No, they are. Do you know who's a prime example of that? Alabama is a prime example of that. Alabama got an ugly loss to Florida State, ugly, and you see where they're sitting at number 9. So Texas, you would be right on the cusp, right where you are right now, even at 10-2. Where would they be at 10? They wouldn't be sitting in front of anybody else. It's that Florida loss that is weighing them down and getting dump trucked by Georgia. Stop blaming it on the Ohio State thing. And also take some responsibility. You lost to Florida. That is going to ding you the same way that the Florida State loss is dinging Alabama. Alabama ain't lost by 25 points to nobody. If they had, they'd be behind BYU right now. Jesus, man, I can't take the incessant crying. Bad things happen to good people in sports. Everybody can't make the playoff. This is not a charity event, people. This is not a charity event. No, Bama does not get a guaranteed spot. They do not get a guaranteed spot at all in the college. If Georgia beats them up, if Georgia beats them by 3 touchdowns in the SEC championship, Alabama's getting out. You can bank on that. They're gonna drop behind Notre Dame, and they're gonna be like, nah, 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 pal. You are not ready. You are not ready for the big leagues this season, and that's okay. And that's okay. The last thing I want to bring up before we get up out of here um is something that I have been debating about for a while. Is we have the you know we have teams that are losing things, and all of these coaches and everything else. And when I'm watching television, it is frustrating for me. And I know it's frustrating for you guys when there is hypocrisy running rampant. When it feels like there is an agenda to push a narrative and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. You got Lane Kiffin saying, essentially saying, I took LSU's job, blaming it on Pete Carroll, and then blaming it on Nick Saban as the reason why he took the job. That ain't why he took the job. He took the job before because he wanted to. And then he's sitting up here lying to us. I don't even know how much I make. Shut up, Lane. You're a liar for that. For that. You know how much you make. Everybody in the chat right now knows how much, approximately within $1 million, how much Lane Kiffin is making and how much his contract is worth. We all know. So don't sit up here and play dumb to us. There's nothing more frustrating than when somebody's trying to make you feel stupid. And one of the last things, somebody said, what about restructuring the whole FBS to 40 teams? Nah, I like the 68 teams, and I like the ability for, like, if I were in charge, we would be doing some sort of European League soccer. There will be relegation. There will be relegation. There will be a path for teams like Tulane, James Madison, and everybody else to get to the big leagues. And if you're at the bottom of the big leagues, if you have a 2-10 season like Florida State and you're one of the worst teams in the country, oh yeah, you're going to be in a group of 16. You'll be going to go play against, uh, you know, uh, Oregon State and Washington State and Utah State. You'll be going to go play against the Sun Belt team. You'll be going to go play against them. Get your weight up, and then that will give those teams a path to be able to establish, to grow, and to build, and to be one of the top teams. And that is exactly why uneven revenue sharing amongst these conferences is crazy. It is crazy talk. It is terrible for the conferences, terrible for college football, for Ohio State to get this much, Rutgers to get that much. I don't care how much TV time they get, any of that. Figure out it with jersey sales or, some other metric. The reason why is because the thing that makes the NFL so great, the Dallas Cowboys make the most money in the NFL. They ain't even close. However, a small market team like Jacksonville, they can beat the Cowboys. They can win the Super Bowl just as easy as the Cowboys can. And parity is the thing that drives interest. Parity is the thing that drives, viewership and everything else. And I love it. I love every single thing about it. And college football needs to adopt that instead of continuing to separate the haves and have-nots. There needs to be a squishing of it. And that logo and that helmet behind me that I played in, that means that sometimes Oregon's going to suck. And would that be good for my personal? No. But you know what it is good for? It's good for college football. And I'm here for college football. College football goes first. And the last thing that I want to ask you guys, and point out, what in God's name, what in God's name is going on over there at Penn State? Penn State still does not have a head coach yet. They do not have a head coach. They were one of the first teams to fire their coach in James Franklin. They had a 2-month head start. They just got turned down by Kalani Sitake, who's staying at BYU, which I love. Thank you. You're poly, LDS, or Mormon. Your whole family's there. Build something there. Now, Penn State is sitting in the 11th hour. Signing day is tomorrow. Their whole class has basically fallen apart. Their recruiting class has basically fallen apart. I believe now either one of two things is true. Either Pat Kraft, their athletic director, well, actually, I believe either one of three things is true. Either number one, their athletic director, Pat Kraft, is 100% incompetent and needs to be fired immediately. I don't think that that's it. you had Todd McShay today on a podcast say he was on the Ringer with the Ringer dude. And he said that Jimmy Sexton, who is the most powerful agent in college football, that he is making sure that Penn State, because they fired James Franklin, that they get screwed in this head coaching search situation. Because remember, Jimmy Sexton has about 80%, 85% of the top coaches in college football. He believes, he said that he's heard that Jimmy Sexton is intentionally doing this to Penn State. That would be, that honestly, that would mean that Jimmy Sexton needs to be stopped. Because this is, that would make him like the Godfather. And as Kanye would say, no one man should have all that power. Old Kanye. Not, I roll with old Kanye, not new Kanye. So don't come at me with that. So, or the third option for Penn State is their head coach is playing in the conference championship this weekend. And it could be Kalen DeBoer. Because we heard rumors about that. So either Jimmy Sexton is screwing them over, Pat Kraft, their athletic director, is incompetent, or the third option is that their head coach is sitting there in a spot that he can't get out of right now. So which one do you guys think it is? We got one for the third option. And the last thing I would tell y'all, Lane Kiffin will not win a championship at Ole Miss. I'm sorry, at LSU. He damn sure ain't gonna win one at Ole Miss, but he ain't gonna win one at LSU. Tell you, run from hard, you get more hard. Complains about playing in the SEC championship and everything else. But you guys though, listen. Oh, and so I did want to cover this for Oregon fans because Oregon lost their offensive coordinator, Will Stein, going to Kentucky. I have a great interview I did with Will Stein this year. I'll get him on again in a few weeks. Once he gets settled and Oregon is settled, I'll get him on again, but in Kentucky Blues. So I got a really good interview with him so you know what Kentucky is getting. It's here on the channel. Just search it. And then Tosh Lupoi, who is Oregon's defensive coordinator, who's going to Cal. So Dan Lanning now has a coaching tree, and he has to replace both coordinators. Now, Dan Lanning did a great job of replacing Kenny Dillingham with Will Stein. And somebody asked me today, is Oregon going to be okay? Coaches are going to be tripping over themselves to be Oregon's defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator, tripping over themselves. Like they're texting Dan, they've been texting and calling Dan Lanning for weeks. And the reason why is because you got a good roster, you're gonna be winning. Winning breeds opportunities. You do a good job winning opportunities. And on another note, so Dan Lanning has hired well. So I believe that there will be fine. Do I believe that will impact Dante Moore coming back next year? It could, but if he likes the hire, they will be just fine. If he trusts Dan, and truthfully, I don't think he needs to go into the draft anyway. Tepper should come back for a year as OC. No. I love Coach T, but he's been having some health stuff, and I wish him well. Don't want him nowhere near no college football field right now. But then the question though is too, why is Brian Hartline not gotten a job? Penn State, if all of those things are true, if Pat Kraft is if the answer is Pat Kraft is incompetent, they may end up with the coach that they should have had all along. Either Brian Hartline or Fran Brown. And I know that Syracuse sucks right now, But Fran Brown would do great with that Penn State logo and them players because whenever he's had players and a good team, his team has done well. Quarterback get hurt, other players get hurt, it falls apart. Penn State interested in Brian Dable, that would be a horrendous idea. Do not hire college pro coaches who aren't like, and I know that Brian Dable had been in Alabama, but I'm passing on that. Y'all watch John Gruden, possibly to South Florida. South Florida's trying to get John Gruden. So watch that. Bring back Scott Frost or Mark Help. Man, stop it. Listen, if you're an Oregon fan, I don't want Scott Frost nowhere near the university. The only thing I'm doing with a O with Scott Frost is tying him up in it and putting him in a knot. He can't come back to Oregon. This is the same man that said you can't recruit top classes to Oregon. This is why I don't want to be here. This is why I'm leaving. He ran from hard at South Florida, ran to Nebraska, and then ran from Nebraska back to Central. Well, not South Florida, Central Florida. Ran back and got kicked in the teeth again. So no on Helfrich, no on Frost. But you guys, though, thank you guys for joining me today. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your energy. Make sure that you guys like, share, and subscribe because you guys have absolutely made this channel special. We got big things popping because of you guys, and I am going to repay it this off season. If you thought the off season was good last year with Dabo Sweeney, Dan Lanning, Kenny Dillingham, and the rest of the crew, oh, it's going up a notch again. It's going up a notch again because we for sure getting into the SEC with Will Stein. We going over to Cal. We going all over the place. It is going to be a movie out in this joint for y'all, man, because y'all keep showing up. And for anybody who doesn't know, I'll give you guys the quick story. I'm writing a book called Stutterbox, okay? I was a kid who stuttered so bad when I was young, and that's what everybody called me was Stutterbox. And I did not believe. So I wanted to be three things when I grew up. I wanted to be a professional athlete, I wanted to be in business, and then I wanted to be in entertainment. Now, the first one, my sixth grade teacher, she asked me, George, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I want to be a professional athlete. She said, do you know what the chances of being a professional athlete are? I said, yeah, sure. They're less than 1 in a million. She said, don't you think you need to choose to be something else? I said, no. So then I go get drafted in 03, play in Jacksonville, have a cup of coffee in New York, then play in Vegas in the UFL. And then I get in business. I'll open a cupcake shop with the family. Oh, if you have not seen it, I'm on an episode of Cupcake Wars, Season 5, Episode 1, the Girl Scouts 100th year anniversary. So you can check it out. It's on Netflix, I believe. Episode 1, season 5, you'll see me with Violet's Cakes. And so I've owned businesses, clothing stores, all sorts of stuff, bought and sold stuff. And then I wanted to be in entertainment, but I stuttered really, really badly. And then I was like, God, if you put this on my heart to do, why would you give me this affliction? And so this is what the book is about overcoming things in life and how what's for you is for you. And the thing that you think is your biggest detriment, which I thought was my voice, turned out people like my voice apparently. Who knew? And then I've been on had my own radio show for the last 4 years until last January. I hosted my own solo radio show on Mad Dog, 3 hours a day, but at first it was 4 hours a day. And then I quit my job in January to do this 100% full time. I went out on a limb. I prayed about it. It was stressful for me and my family, for everybody, but I knew that this was what I was supposed to be doing. And you guys absolutely showed up and you guys have proven it. And I appreciate it. But tomorrow I will be on, well, maybe. But I will be doing a video in the morning that'll come out tomorrow about Will Stein and where Oregon goes from here. But I am closing up shop tomorrow. Vasectomy time tomorrow. And so I'm hoping that I can sit on the buns for a little bit tomorrow and give you guys a National Signing Day thing. But if not, I'll be back on Thursday, even if I got to sit on one of them damn what do them women be sitting on when they get BBLs? I might have to sit on one of them, but you know what? I'll be here because y'all want me here and I appreciate it. All right, y'all. Peace out. Catch you guys later.